Hello YouTube, I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney, and on this channel we answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users getting folks the answer need from an employment attorney. I'm in a bit of a tizzy today, trying to get all my videos out for the week because I have to drive to New York tonight. So, we have a question from YouTube user Corey, who asks us, I have a question for you. Do lawyers lie about settlement money? Corey, I'm going to need some context, but I will try to give you an idea, generally speaking, of how often and what kind of lies I see about settlement money. So, there are two common lies about settlement money that I've seen other attorneys in other firms, or even people that I worked for, although I didn't know they were doing it at the time that I worked for them. But I've seen people do these things, or I've heard about it, or I've heard people get in trouble for it, stuff like that. People in the industry. Big one is attorneys will lie about what they think they can get you in settlement, right? I worked for a guy, older guy, who was actually very impressive, dastardly, villainous, but physically impressive. He was a very old man. He would jump on a table and be like, "I'll win you millions," and I'd just be sitting there like, "This case is worth 60 grand." What? He's not even going to talk to this person again. Like, what? I'm going to have to work this case that's worth 60 grand and you told millions, right? Like, are you kidding me right now? You sack of bones. Like, he would leave the room and I'd be like, not a chance. No. Listen, you're going to get real mad at me when I say this, but there's not a chance you're getting 7 figures. I think we can get you 60. I think it might be a good deal. It's a case. You got a case. The case is solid. It's worth some money. 60 is not nothing, but it's not millions. I'll tell you that right now. Surprise, surprise, that job didn't last too long for me. Those clients, like the guy telling them they were going to win millions, better than the guy who was like, oh, 60. 60 is probably the most you could hope for. Yeah. I get it. Why would he lie? People trust him. He was a well-known guy, right? Like, so, there's that. That's like a lie about settlement money on the way into a retainer. That's the kind of lie attorneys will tell to get people to sign retainers, which I always think is really, really gross. And I'll be kind of conservative with my own numbers most of the time. I like to, under promise, over deliver. But even then, you're like, listen, here's what I think you should demand. Like, I only talk about demand numbers. I'm not like gonna lie to you and be like, I think you get this much in a case, right? So on the way into a retainer, people are like, well, what do you think the case is worth? And it's like, I don't know, but I think you should probably demand like X amount. And then even then, somebody will later on like take a settlement for less and then be like, well, you lied to me because I didn't get X amount. I'm like, I told you to make a demand for that much. I didn't tell you to get that. Like, I can't tell you the future. I can't tell you what you in the future might accept out of all the things your defendant might or might not offer you. I cannot forecast the future in that way, right? Like, very common tussle. But anyways, I digress. The other lie, and actually I know of an attorney who some people very near and dear to me worked for, who went to jail for this. He was getting in settlement agreements and running it a little bit like a Ponzi scheme, where he would like get in settlements to his accounts and then not tell the clients that he got the money for like a while. And he would live off the money, like live in like high off the hog, big, big spender. Oh, you think I'm gross and you don't want to date me? You want a jet ski? Do you want a jet ski? I'll buy you a jet ski. Huh? Or you still think I'm gross? You don't want to date me? I'll buy you a Mercedes. You want a Mercedes? Turns out, yeah, not his money. Turns out he was just dipping into client funds and then would like tell them some period of time in the future, like, oh, your settlement money came in. But when he actually paid them, he'd be dipping into other clients' settlement money. Wow. And it just kept getting further and further and further away from him. I'm sure he told himself, like, oh, I'm going to hit it big one day. I hit it big a bunch in my youth. I'm going to hit it big again, and I'll just get all caught up. I'll get everybody paid off. It'll be fine. I'm sure that's like the mentality of these people, right? That's the mentality, the gambler mentality, which, is pervasive in many employment attorneys, because risking huge wads of your own cash on employment cases in the hopes of winning big for your clients and getting a big percentage, it attracts people with certain vices, like gambling addiction, because it's very similar. It's like gambling, where your skill and your intelligence matters. And immediately somebody's like, poker, Vince. Poker's a thinking man's guy. Yeah, I know a bunch of professional poker players. They don't earn big. Okay, a few of them do, but like mostly it's a middling job at best, right? Can you play poker intelligently? Sure. Are you going to get rich doing it? Highly unlikely, right? Employment law? Well, you want to see a gambling addiction pay out. Certainly know plenty of folks riding that dragon. So yeah, that's fairly common. Now, Corey, I don't know in what context you're asking me, do attorneys lie about settlement money? If you want to give me follow-up, I'm happy to have a discussion about what specific lies your attorneys could or could not be feeding you. I'm happy to have those discussions, but I will say this. This video was a long diatribe about a couple of attorneys who were very, very much in my forebrain, who existed at the top of my mind because they did dastardly things. And that's notable because they would not be at the top of my mind if that was common. It would not be at the top. It would not be true, right? Like, if I could think immediately of 50 attorneys who lie about settlement money, I would not be able to have these stories. Like, that would just be the norm. It would be common. And I would, instead of telling you these shocking tales from dastardly do-no-goods, right, I would be like, yeah, that shit happens all the time. There's a lot of bad guys. That's why you hire good firms like mine. Right? Like that would have been my that would have been my response. But the truth of the matter is, it's fairly rare. There are a lot of really bad, incompetent, evil employment attorneys in the world. They're out there. But generally speaking, even the dumbest or the most evil steer clear of messing with settlement funds, because that is a really, really good way to turn your license into kindling. It's one of the stupidest things you can possibly do, and generally speaking, folks don't do it. The gentleman who was running his Ponzi scheme went to jail, I believe, for multiple years. I thought, sincerely, he would die in jail. Like, I really believed that. I was like, oh, that's a life sentence. That guy is not going to make it. Right? So the penalties are fairly stiff, and generally, legal counsel are afraid to mess with settlement funds. I will admit that folks are a little looser on the way in. I see a lot of written, like, forecasts of case valuations and stuff like that people give out to clients. I'm like, this is like drafting evidence for the Bar Association and being like, I'm not ethical. I do unethical things. Here, Bar Association, punish me. And it always astounds me because they just get away with it year after year after year after year. It's insane to watch. It drives me insane because these people are in the industry, and people will call me like, Vince, I really want to hire you, but this other guy guaranteed me 30 mil. And I think that you telling me, a number like a demand number, not even a guarantee, 1/10 that amount, I just think, Vince, maybe you just don't have what it takes. I'm like, that man is not going to win you 30 mil. Like, this case is not worth 30 mil. I can't tell you what might happen in your case. Like, listen, I guess I can't forecast the future for you, but, like, this is not, you're not dealing with reality here, right? I lose cases of that shit all the time. And all all we do is say, hey, we probably didn't want to represent that person anyways because that person is having trouble working with reality, which is an issue when you're dealing with a client. And so we have to just be glad that those attorneys are out there doing bad things. But it's sad to watch because they're taking advantage of people, and I hate it. Anyways, I'm ranting. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Helps our channel to grow.